Hello YouTube, this is VMonkeyEffects and I am back, obviously. I finally decided to do another upload since it's been forever, so here I am. Today we're going to take a look at how you create this epic wobometer, which I do not have created at the moment, but it's basically like a speedometer that you have react to whatever choice of music or audio that you have in your project. And then you can add this to like a demo reel for your next demo reel, for an audio react type thing to show off some of the skills that you have with reacting to audio, you know, pretty self-explanatory. Anyway, you could do that, or you could just be like me and be absolutely obsessed with dubstep. So either of those, I guess, are viable reasons that you might use this. Anyway, I'm gonna get this out of the way. Using a new program to do my recordings. Hopefully it works a little smoother. So anyway, as you can see here, I've already imported my footage. We're going to use this a little bit later, but to start off, we're just going to import our audio into a generic composition. Just any settings will do. And then this is some dubstep from Droideka that I have imported into After Effects. Also, Aaron Musslewhite is a pretty good producer. I'll put a link in the description for his channel. I use some of his stuff in my videos. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and create a new solid, or we could create a new solid, not select anything. That'd be kind of helpful if we actually selected something. And we're going to go ahead and make some sort of arrow-like mask that lines up with the center of the composition, and something like that. Doesn't have to be too specific. Just make sure it has that it looks something like that. We're going to go ahead and do our effects and presets panel and type in mirror. And go ahead and drag that onto our solid. Center the reflection about here. At the center of the dial. This is the dial that we're going to be making for our speedometer. And then we'll make our dial look a little bit bigger. A little bit nicer. Something like that. You know. And how big is our comp? Ooh, we're going to want that bigger. Just random settings. I don't know, I don't really have a preset for that. So I'm going to scale this up. What's my resolution at? That'll probably do it. Alright. So we're at full resolution, so it doesn't look all pixelated. And, you know, it's a pretty good looking dial. We can adjust the points of our mask to make it look a little nicer. You can rotate the mirror, I guess, if you want. But that probably won't leave you with such a nice looking dial as what I currently have. So I'm just going to leave it like this. There we've got a decent looking dial to start off. Alright, next thing we're going to want to do is pre-compose these two layers, Control-Shift-C, and we'll name this dial symmetrical. I don't know, I'm pretty uncreative when it comes to making up composition names. And we're going to go ahead and change this anchor point so that when we start rotating this dial, it'll actually look like it's rotating from the correct axis. Because in all reality, you've never seen a speedometer, or at least I hope you've never seen a speedometer where it rotates from like here, because that is the opposite of good. Probably means you have a broken speedometer. Anyway, that's that. Now if we try and rotate this, you can see it looks pretty fluid. And we have a pretty good looking dial. So now we're going to go ahead and do our audio layer. And accidentally selected the layer. Right click it, go up to Keyframe Assistant, hold your cursor and convert audio to keyframes. And then let it load while it's creating the keyframes. And as you can see, it creates a new null object named audio amplitude. And it gives us a left channel, a right channel, and both channels, which we're probably not going to use this. So we'll go ahead and delete that. And if we want to, if I have time in the tutorial, we can go back and look at those later. But for now on, we'll just keep both channels. And then we're going to go ahead and alt-click on the stopwatch on rotation. And that'll bring up our expressions. Then we're going to click this little swirly thing here, then open up the effect controls for audio amplitude, and we'll lock this. Then we'll just go ahead and drag this little swirly thing, which is the parent tool, up to the slider. And then, as you can see, this will then rotate along with the audio keyframes that have been created from this layer. So indirectly, this dial will be rotating along with the audio in the layer. Your mind is blown. Well, if it's not, it should be. Alright, so that's looking pretty decent. You know, rotates a little. Not too shabby. We can make it better. If we go into our dial and we turn on motion blur, that'll make it look a little more realistic, or should. Come on. Yeah, there we go, some motion blur. And then if we want this to have a little more drama in the way it swings, we can multiply this by doing asterisk and then the number you want to multiply it by. So I'm going to say 5, you know. And that's looking pretty, if it's more than 180 degrees from where it's originally standing, you don't want to go that high of a value. So I'd say, maybe 3 times 3. And that's pretty good. Now, while I'm doing this, I think I'm going to trim down the length of our comp, because this is really long, so maybe like 6 seconds. And we'll hit OK. Yep. Pretty awesome. But you know, we can make this look a little more epic if you have some other plugins and stuff. First off, I'm going to go ahead and import this still footage I have of a speedometer, graphically generated, and then we'll scale that up. And then if we need to, since this is all already preloaded, we can really position this dial wherever we need it to be. So we'll center it on the speedometer, and we can scale it down till we get about the right length. And you see we have another dial here as a reference, which I'll be trying to remove most of it, but for tutorial purposes I won't be removing all of it, just because to remove all of it would take up too much time. But then we're going to want to pre-compose our audio amplitude and our dial, Control-Shift-C, into dial react. And we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And so now we can see that it rotates sort of like an actual dial would, except for one pretty outstanding detail. This dial does not line up with this dial, so we're going to have to go ahead. That's why I just pre-composed this, and I'm going to set the anchor point to the center of the dial again. I'll move it down, and then we'll just rotate the entire composition. And then, as you can see, it's a pretty well animated dial. It looks pretty cool. However, we're probably going to want to get rid of some of the background on this dial, because I'm pretty sure you don't want random plants and the fact that you're getting 85 miles left on your vehicle with no brake light on. You know, just eye for detail. Kind of need an eye for detail. So we're going to go ahead and make a circular mask around the actual face of the speedometer. We'll hold shift so we can get a perfect circle. And we'll go ahead and select this area. It doesn't have to be perfect, because we'll be applying an effect later that will blur this slightly. And then we're going to go ahead and duplicate that mask. Hit E. Oh, nope, that didn't work. We're going to go into mask 2 and decrease the expansion. Expand it inward. And we'll set that to subtract. So we get something like that. And now we'll make one last mask to get rid of this stuff down here. And this is completely optional. I mean, if you have better stock footage than I do, you're probably not going to have to do this. But for tutorial purposes, I thought this was a pretty decent piece of stock footage. And then we'll set that to subtract as well. And there we have it. A very cryptic version of a wobometer. And you know what, we might want to feather these masks too, just a little, to give it more of a natural look. Not too shabby. Looking pretty decent. Alright. Let's see, what else do we want to do? We might want to duplicate this layer. Go over to our effects and presets panel, type in bass and treble. And beyond this point, it's really just fine-tuning everything so that it looks decent and presentable. But all this is completely optional. You don't have to do this. I'm gonna bring up the bass and then bring down the treble, so that we just have like a bass layer, a bass layer, pure bass. That would be amazing. And as you can see, I made it so that we can't hear this. And I'm gonna go ahead and drag the effect glow over to my dial. Bring up the radius. Change up the colors a little bit. White, and then maybe like a light blue. And then if we want, we can actually apply a shine to it. However, since not everyone has shine, we can probably we can suffice with just a generic radial fast blur. I'll bring up that and increase the intensity of the glow. However, that's looking a bit too spectacular, so maybe we might have to go in there and tweak some of those settings. But for now, let's just leave it with the glow. Alright, so we want the glow, either the radius or the intensity, to animate along with the base layer so that it adds a little bit more depth to the animation than just moving back and forth. And you know, you can change camera angles and stuff if you're going to be looking at this for an extended period of time. But again, this is just a tutorial, so I'm probably not going to be going that in-depth with this animation. And we're going to go ahead, go back up to Keyframe Assistant and convert audio to keyframes one more time. Get rid of both the left and right channels. So we're left with just both channels. And then we'll we'll lock this layer up here. Go back into our dial react. And we'll go into the glow effects, glow intensity or radius, I'm not sure. Let's take a look at what looks best. Yeah, we're going to want to do the radius for sure. Or maybe we can parent both. That would look interesting, wouldn't it? What to do? Let's just bring down the intensity a bit. And then we can always fine-tune this a little bit later so we can get rid of this hard outline. But for now, let's just keyframe the intensity. Keep things simple. And we'll parent this to the slider. And as we approach the bass drop, it's going to be more and more dramatic. But I'd say that is way too dramatic. Huge blue halo. In fact, that looks pretty ugly. So let's edit this /5 maybe to just decrease that intensity. Not enough. Decrease it by even more. I think we can go lower. Maybe that's a little too much. I don't know. A lot of this is just tweaking settings that you get what you think is, and I just brought even lower. Oh, what you think is a good effect. So for me, that works pretty well. And we'll just let this load. And, you know, it's a pretty decent glow in terms of audio react. And that I'm trying to keep this tutorial under a half hour, so let's go ahead into our effects and presets panel and type in radial. I'm not sure. I think I'll just go with a regular radial blur this time. Go into the dial react, and we'll blur this. So that's the wrong kind of blur. And I might want to decrease the resolution of this a bit so that we can... Ooh, too much. That is ugly. That is completely ugly. And even that's a little bit disgusting to look at, but to save on time, you know, we do what we do. You know, that's loading like really slowly. I think I might just get rid of the radial blur. Just do a radial fast blur again. Put the center around there. And we'll let this load again. It's looking a little bit better, I think. And, you know, it's not perfect, but I think you get the gist of the idea of audio react. It's just basically parenting layers to the audio amplitude. Very simple. So yeah, if we want to stylize this speedometer to make it look more like this dial right here, we can go ahead and type in... I'm going to use trap code shine just for the purposes of speed, but you can use human saturation or whatever you feel is necessary. And then for colorize, we'll set this to electric. And I'll do the same with my dial, because I really like the look of shine. It's just a personal preference of mine. Shine, if you just use it as a color correction layer, does a pretty good job of creating a glow. So that's what you'll see me using, like, I'm going to say at least 50% of the time. It's almost always going to be shine. Alright, so, I'm thinking we did a pretty good job with this dial. I mean, it's not production worthy yet, but, getting there, you know. But, since this is just a tutorial, I think you get the basic idea of how we would go about making an animation like this and then putting it into some sort of online production. We just have to go through there, tweak some of the settings over and over till we get something that we believe is pretty decent. So with that, I think I'm going to end the tutorial. I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you found it useful. If you guys liked this video in particular, if you wouldn't mind checking out my YouTube channel, I have more videos like this over there, along with some tests that I've done. And with that, I'd also ask you to please go check out our Facebook and Twitter pages, because I'd really like to get some more likes on Facebook, as I currently do not have a lot, and I don't have as much as I would like to. So if you could do me a huge favor and just drop a like over there. Also, rating, commenting the videos is always nice. And even if I could get a subscriber out of this video, that would be amazing. So with that, I think I'm gonna end this tutorial. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.